The Dear Departed Part 1. Characters: Miss Amelia Slater and Miss Elizabeth Jordan as sisters, Henry Slater, Ben Jordan as husbands of Amelia and Elizabeth, Victoria Slater, a girl of 10, Amelia's daughter, Abel Merriweather, father of Amelia and Elizabeth, Jimmy, son of Elizabeth Jordan. When the curtain rises, Miss Slater is seen laying the table. She is a vigorous, plump, red-faced, vulgar woman prepared to do any amount of straight talking to get her own way. She is in black. She goes to the window, opens it, and calls into the street.
Victoria, Victoria, dear here, come in, will you?
Victoria, a precocious girl, dressed in colors, comes in.
I'm amazed to you, Victoria, I really am. Be off now and change your dress before your Aunt Elizabeth and your Uncle Ben come. It would never do for them to find you in colors with grandfather lying dead upstairs.
What are they coming for? They haven't been here for ages?
They are coming to talk over poor grandpa's affairs. Your father sent a telegram as soon as we found he was dead.
A noise is heard. Henry Slater, a stooping, heavy man with a drooping moustache, enters. He is wearing a black tailcoat, grey trousers, a black tie, and a bowler's hat.
I'm wondering if they will come at all. When you and Elizabeth quarreled, she said she would never set foot in your house again.
She will come fast enough after her share of what our father slept. You know how hard she can be when she likes, where she can be when she likes. Where she gets it from, I can't tell.
I suppose it's in the family. Where are my slippers?
In the kitchen, but you want a new pair. Those old ones are nearly worn out.
Nearly breaking down.
You don't seem to realize what it's costing me to bear up like I'm doing. My heart's fit to break when I see the trifles that belong to fathers lying around and think he will never use them again. Here, you would better wear the slippers of my father's now. It's lucky he would just got a new pair.
They will be very small for me, my dear.
They will stretch, won't they? I am not going to have them wasted. Henry, I have been thinking about that bureau of my father's that's in his bedroom. You know, I always wanted to have it after he died.
You must arrange with Elizabeth when you're dividing things up.
Elizabeth's that sharp, she will see I'm after it, and we will drive a hard bargain over.
Perhaps she's got her eye on the bureau as well.
She has never been here since father bought it. If it was only down here instead of in his room, she would never guess it wasn't our own.
Amelia?
Henry, why shouldn't we bring that bureau down here now? We can do it before they come.
I wouldn't care to.
Don't look so daft. Why not?
Doesn't seem delicate. Somehow.
We could put that shabby old chest of drawers upstairs where the bureau is now. Elizabeth could have that and welcome. I have always wanted to get rid of it.
She points to the drawers.
Suppose they come when we are doing it.
I will fasten the front door. Get your coat off. Henry, we will change it.
Miss Slater goes out to fasten the front door. Henry takes his coat off. Miss Slater reappears.
I will run up and move the chairs out of the way.
Victoria appears dressed according to her mother's instructions.
What? Have you got your coat of fur, father?
Mother and I going to bring grandfather's bureau down here.
Are you planning to pinch it?
Shocked.
No, my child. Grandpa gave it to your mother before he died.
this morning?
Yes.
Huh? He was drunk this morning.
Miss Slater appears carrying a handsome clock under her arm.
I thought I would fetch this down as well.
She puts it on the mantelpiece.
Our clock's worth nothing and this always appealed to me.
That's Grandpa's clock.
Be quiet. It's ours now. Come, Henry. Lift your hand.
Henry and Miss Slater, very hot and flushed, staggered in with a pretty old-fashioned bureau containing a locked desk. They put it where the chest of drawers was and straightened the ornaments, etc. There is a knock at door. The knocking is repeated. Victoria ushers in Ben and Miss Jordan. The latter is a stout, complacent woman with a irritating air of being always right. She is wearing an outfit of new mourning. Ben is also in complete new mourning. He is rather a jolly little man, but at present trying to adapt himself to the regrettable occasion. Miss Jordan sails into the room and solemnly goes straight to Miss Slater and kisses her. The men shake hands.
Well, Amelia, and so he's gone at last.
Yes, he's gone. He was 72 a fortnight last Sunday.
She sniffs back a tear.
No, Emilia, you must not give way. We have all got to die sometime or other.
And now, perhaps you will tell us all about it.
Father had been married this morning. He went out soon after breakfast to pay insurance.
My word, it is a good thing he did.
He always was thoughtful in that way. He was too honorable to have gone without paying his premium.
And when I came in and found him undressed, sure enough, and snug in bed.
And when we would finish dinner, I thought I would take up a bit of something on a tray. He was lying there for all the world as if he was asleep. So I put the tray down on the bureau, on the chest of drawers, and went to wake him. He was quite cold.
A pause, they wipe their eyes and sniff back tears. Rising briskly at length in a business-like tone.
Well, will you go up and look at him now, or shall we have a tea?
What do you say, Ben?
I am not particular.
Serving the table.
Well, then, if the kettle's ready, we may as well have tea first.
Miss Slater puts the kettle on the fire and gets tea ready.
One thing we may as well decide now is the announcement in the papers.
I was thinking of that. What would you put? Well, we will think about it after tea, and then we will look through his bits of things and make a list of them. There's all the furniture in his room.
There's no jewelry or valuables of that sort.
Except his gold watch. He promised that to our Jimmy.
Promised your Jimmy. I never heard of that.
Oh, but he did, Amelia. When he was living with us, he was very fond of Jimmy.
I don't know.
Anyhow, there is his insurance money. Have you got the receipt for the premium he paid this morning?
I have not seen it.
Victoria jumps up from the sofa and comes behind the table.
Mother, I don't think Grandpa went to pay his insurance this morning.
He went out.
Yes, but he didn't go into the town. He met old Mr. Tattersall down the street and they went off past St. Philip's church.
Do you think he hasn't paid it? What it's overdue?
I should think it was overdue.
Something tells me he's not paid it.
The drunken old beggar.
He's done. It's no purpose, just to annoy us.
After all I have done for him, having to put up with him in the house these 3 years, it's nothing short of swindling.
I had to put up with him for 5 years.
And you were trying to turn him over to us all the time.
But we don't know for certain that he's not paid the premium.
Victoria, run upstairs and fetch that bunch of keys that's on your grandpa's dressing table.
In Grandpa's room?
Yes,
I don't like to.
don't talk so silly. There's no man can hurt you. We will see if he's locked the receipt up in the bureau.
In where? In this thing?
Where did you pick that up, Amelia? It's new since last I was here.
Oh, Henry picked it up one day.
Victoria returns very scared. She closes the door after her.
Mother!
What is it, child?
Grandpa's getting up.
The child's crazy.
Grandpa's getting up.
What?
What do you say? Don't talk so silly. Don't you know your grandpa's dead?
No. He's getting up. I saw him.
They are transfixed with amazement. Victoria clings to Miss Slater.
Hey, listen.
They look at the door. A slight chuckling is heard from upstairs. The door opens, revealing an old man clad in a faded but gay dressing gown. He is in his stocking feet. Although over 70, he is vigorous and well colored. His bright, malicious eyes twinkle under his heavy, reddish grey eyebrows. He is obviously either the old man, Abel Merryweather, or else his ghost.